Hello and welcome to Keeping It Real, the podcast where we talk to the best people in real estate. And this is going to be a good one because we've been doing Zoom interviews forever now, and we are live
in person
in Austin, Texas, in this sweet studio. So thank you, producer Sean, for figuring this situation out, and thank you for Theresa for coming out and meeting us.
Well, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, I'm like excited to do this real style.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Face to face.
We were just joking about like, okay, wait, hang on. Do I look at the camera? Like which one, what green dot is it?
We can look at each other.
Right, exactly. Or where are the cats? Right? Usually there's a lot more cats involved in this situation.
Zoom life involves cats in the office.
Exactly. So this episode, we are going to talk about your unconventional social media methods.
Sure.
So why don't you start out though by introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Theresa Bastian. I'm a real estate broker here in Austin, Texas. I've been here 13 years, and my brokerage is called Let's Move Austin. Prior to that, I did real estate in Tacoma, Washington for about a decade, and I was a franchise holder with a international company.
Excellent. All right. Well, we filmed a testimonial video with you because you're a solid Real Geeks user.
Yeah.
Been around a while, and one of the things you said offhand to us was, oh, I don't really like social media and I have some unconventional ways of using it. So this entire episode is the genesis from that one comment.
Well, a lot of people think of social media and it's like, well, I've got to do Facebook ads, and it's an advertisement, like a billboard of yourself or your production or your listings. And I'm sure there are people having success with that. That didn't ever set right with how I like to do business.
Yeah.
Billboards, look at me. So I really believe in adding layers of value to your community, and I kind of stumbled upon this as a way to generate business, because in my community, my neighborhood is a master plan community of about, 7,000 homes. And, my kids went to the schools there. We're very involved with the different sports organizations and the HOA. And, if you're involved and you're authentic, just your posts in the different neighborhood Facebook groups or the Circle C gardening group or, all of these different things for a neighborhood, they're an opportunity for you to be genuine and make connections with your neighbors and your community. So it's less of a billboard approach, more of a genuine participant in the community.
Okay. And that I think is kind of the critical difference, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of real estate agents listen to, guys like Tom Ferry talk about, content generation, and you need to be, posting on social and, adding value, but that's not you.
No, or there's a lot of people that will, for $79, they'll sell you their social media package and they'll give you 10 new posts per month. And that's great. But aren't we all a little past the point where we're going to see basically a billboard and go, oh, let me click on that? They already know, realtors. It may work for some people, right? I mean, obviously it does. People are making money doing it. But for me, that just felt surface level.
Yeah.
And what I really realize, my ideal client, the people that value what I bring as a professional, they are more relationship based. So if I am an active member of my community, and one way to show people you're an active member of your community is by getting involved in groups and sharing comments and thoughts and ideas and being authentic, then when, oh, by the way, you're also a realtor, it's a more natural that when they have a real estate need, they're going to look at you because they already see you as involved and authentic.
Right.
And there's no billboard necessary.
Right. So let's break this down. What does this actually look like? Because we've outlined the concept. The high level concept is genuinely involved in your community.
Right.
And all right. And so this is happening Facebook mostly?
Specifically Facebook groups.
Yep. Okay.
And, I really haven't, so unconventional social media. I'm not in TikTok. I that's just not what I do.
Yep.
It's not for my purpose.
Yeah.
So what I'm talking about is Facebook groups primarily, either starting one or participating in one that exists.
Yep.
Same concept. Nextdoor works very similarly. And your Google My Business page can be similar. You're not having a conversation there, but you can repurpose a lot of content and show yourself as an active member of a community. And Austin, unlike some markets, Austin's giant. I have no desire, desire, but I probably no chance of dominating the Austin market.
Right.
But you know what? I can be a major player in my neighborhood, my part of Austin. And that's what I want to encourage people to think about is that hyper-local market. You know it better than anyone. And that's what stands out. So if you add layers of value and participation in a hyper-local market, you can really be the standout agent.
So what kind of groups are you looking for?
Well, I think that depends on you, right? Because part of it is being authentic.
Yep.
So I am not a dog lover. I might be the only non-dog lover in the entire city of Austin, perhaps the state of Texas, to be honest. But I would not join something that is picking up blankets to take to the dog shelter. Like, you could see my face already. Like, no one would believe it. I don't belong there. Okay? So I think first you want to see, what are you passionate about?
Yep.
Because you are not just a realtor. Hopefully, okay? Like, hopefully you're a full, well-rounded person. So when I moved to Austin and started my practice, I knew nobody here.
Yep.
So my natural, what was I involved with was my kids' school. They were both in elementary school. So I joined the PTA. And there were like 3 other realtors on the PTA. But you know what? I didn't let it stop me. Because I am passionate about public education. I used to be a teacher. This is a wheelhouse of mine, and I wanted to be anchored to the kids' school, especially since we were new in the state. So because that's something that speaks to me, I was able to be noticed for my work there. Like, don't ask me about the PTA Sunshade project, where I actually was the one in charge of finding out how to get the district to approve the PTA funds to be used for the sunshade. And then I interviewed sunshade manufacturers, and I knew more about sunshades than I did about houses in Texas at that point.
You went super deep.
Well, but that's the thing. If you're going to do it, you have to do it well for people to go, hey, that's someone who gets things done.
Right.
I bet if she does that for a volunteer sunshade, she'd sell the heck out of a house.
What's she going to do professionally?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that sunshade project in all of its heinous details is really what turned my first, being able to get business from that, group of people.
So let's drill into this.
I know.
It's kind of interesting, right?
It's a specific weird example.
It's a very specific example. But so were you getting clients that you had worked with after that?
Yes.
They were coming to you, and did they
Someone I worked with on the PTA, literally after that, came and said they were thinking about picking up an investment property that maybe their mom could move into if she ever did decide to move to Austin. And from there, then, they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends and so on and so on. And this neighborhood, has 4 elementary schools.
Yep.
It's very saturated with realtors.
Yep.
And I didn't have the budget at the time to be advertising and everything.
Right.
So it's like I had more time than money. I put my time to work.
Right.
And it paid off because I think if I had just gone to the PTA meeting with my little name tag on, nada.
Right.
But doing something. So it's important to choose what groups, back to your question, because if you choose something you're not passionate about or, maybe competent in, I don't think you'll get the results.
Right. Right. So you can't just pick something randomly and say, I'm going to go be a warm body in that room, and then expect...
Show up with your name badge and people are, oh, thank God, I've been waiting to meet a realtor.
Right, exactly. It's sort of like, we talk about delivering value, and it's like you actually have to contribute.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I've seen it backfire on people that, they're volunteers in an organization and they don't do what they said they were going to do. And I remember several times thinking I would never hire that person as a lawyer.
Right.
She doesn't follow through or whatever the situation is.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. You can't let it backfire.
No. So, be sure what you're taking on you can execute.
Right, exactly. So, you talked about master plan communities. You live in a master plan community, and there's a community group. And now inside that group, it sounds like you've become a sort of a hub of references.
Another thing that happens is people will post inside the neighborhood residence page. And if you're, many communities, The residence page has rules, so they make an uncensored page.
Yep.
So you get in that one too. So they'll say,
well, my community is exactly the same thing. Yeah,
this is not unique, guys.
Right.
But interacting with these groups with a little bit of purpose can really go a long way. So, for example, in the residence group that's pretty managed, on Tuesdays you can post your small business. Well, nobody wants to see 30 different realtors putting their website address. Right. But what do you offer in that group? I'm offering this. I'm offering a valuation, or I made a website that's value my Circle C home. Circle C is my neighborhood. Right. So now it's like, oh, well, that's for my neighborhood. So they click on mine over someone else's. Or I'm offering a free seller's report. I'm offering a free, 10 things to consider before putting your house on the market. Anything like that. So the thing is that every comment you make in that group the group's searchable.
Right.
So if someone comes later and they are looking for a recommendation, like, okay, on Saturday, this true story. Somebody posted they're thinking about putting their house in this part of the neighborhood on the market. Did anybody have a realtor recommendation?
Yeah.
121 comments by 24 hours later. Okay.
Each comment is a unique realtor?
No, some of it was like back and forth or chiming in or people thanking, but 121. Like the guy was like, okay, I'm good. But the thing is, if you are recommended in something like that more than once, by other people, not just yourself putting your website on, that's like searchable content forever. Because I guarantee there's other people thinking about selling that are like, I'm glad I didn't ask that question, but let me write down these names.
Right. Yeah. Right, exactly. Well, I think there's another point in there, and it reminds me of the conversation we were having last week with Bob McCraney. Mm-hmm. And Bob, we were talking about like more SEO landing pages. Yeah. And, I think the mistake that a lot of people make when they're making their website or a page in general is like, well, this is the page that, it just serves everything. Right. And, Bob was saying the page needs to serve a specific function. So it's like that page is there for the person that typed in this specific phrase. Like
a long tail.
A long tail thing. And it sounds like you're approaching your social media posts in exactly the same way. It's not a billboard that's like, hey, please choose me because lightning struck. It's like, choose me because I am offering the specific piece of value at exactly the right time.
Correct. And then the other part of it is you don't just post in that group when you're talking about yourself and your business.
Right.
So you also listen, somebody was looking for someone to look at their sprinkler system. I gave a great recommendation for the sprinkler company that we work with closely. So you're just consistently layer value. So if someone has a question about what's going on at one of the schools, they could Google it, but you could Google it and answer them too. And now that person has a positive image of you. Yep. Maybe that layers in over time. I mean, maybe not, but why not be a resource, like do good?
Yeah. So Facebook, Nextdoor, those are the two main platforms. Mm-hmm. What's your work process actually look like? How do you do this? Like, do you just scroll once a day, or do you look at alerts that pop up on your phone? Like, how do you actually do this?
Well, you don't have to even do it every day. But one more thing I want to mention is you could start a group if there isn't one.
Yeah.
So, for example, at the high school years ago, before my kids, as they were coming up, there was no organization or person willing to start the parent page, because these schools are like 3,000 kids. So it's a lot of parents. Huge. And so now you could have a lot of, comments. But so
moderating one of those things is its own level of contentious.
So the PTA didn't want to be responsible for it. The high school didn't. But I thought there'd be a lot of value because there was one at the middle school level, and then it would just kind of die. So I created it, and invited moderators that were, had kids coming from each of the different middle schools, and not just like my friends. And so that's been an interesting thing too, because if you moderate a page, you can layer content in. Of course, I don't even talk about real estate on there, because everyone in my community, that's the high school. Yep. There are people that know me or know my name simply because they've seen it repeatedly in like posting the bell schedule for the high school, because every time you post something in a group, your face shows with it, your name shows with it. That's a lot of digital impressions.
Have you thought at all about like your? Well, I've got a whole bunch of follow-up.
Okay.
Based on like it sparked a network of stuff. Hopefully, I can remember it all. So your face, your name pops up. Have you done any sort of optimization about like, it's Theresa Realtor as your name, or is it just Theresa as your face?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does your picture include any sort of indication of what you do? Like, have you thought of any of that?
So my profile, my
Yep.
name and photo are me. It's a professional photo, so
Yep.
it's not like me with my cat. So I think when people see it, they think she must do something business-wise. But if you give some, like, you can say to someone on Facebook, like, I'll message or I'll private message you every time I do that, or if there's some information, like, oh, if you want to know more about that, DM me. And like, oh, my kid was in ROTC.
Right.
And so people are like, what's the ROTC program look like? I might answer part of that question there, and then I'll say DM me or give my cell phone. But so if they DM me or I have a reason to DM then I friend them, because then they can see my profile. In my profile, it says I'm a realtor, and I would say I'm probably maybe 3 regular posts to 1 real estate related posts is the ratio. So then now I'm just adding them as Facebook friends. I mean, ultimately, I want to add them to my full database, but it's a start to add as a Facebook friend.
And do you how mixed is like your Facebook profile, like personal versus like professional? Like how do you look at that? I mean, there's a lot of, I think for a lot of younger folks that grew up on Facebook, there's like, hey, this is like my college party photos, and so they got to like go back and do some curation and stuff like that. Like, how much of your kids do you post on there?
So,
how much do you,
again, my philosophy is I attract the clients who value my professional services most if I'm authentic.
Yeah.
So I'm authentic on my social media.
Yep.
It's probably about 75% personal stuff to 25% a business thing. Okay. But one of my most things I'm known for is that I'm a horrible cook, and I am unabashedly don't care, and I still try. So whenever I burn something now or drop it on the floor or it goes bad in my fridge, I'm happy, though, because now I can take a picture and post it, and people love it. So you have to look up hashtag cooking with Theresa. I've even had people send me things in the mail, like a tea towel that says, I'm such a bad cook, even the smoke alarm cheers me on. Yeah. So that is not like a strategic thing to get me business, but it has market share. And in our neighborhood, there's actually a Facebook group for grillers and cookers, and people share recipes and brag on their food. And whenever someone messes something up, invariably somebody that I probably don't know in real life says, oh, Theresa Bastian, you should look at this, or you're right up there with Theresa Bastian. Yeah. It's like, it has a reach, and it's a staying power.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not so much, the clickbait headline for the episode is like, social media for people that hate social media, right? It's not so much that you hate it. It's like you don't really like maybe the over commercialization.
That's a good way to put it. For sure. I don't believe in it.
Yeah. It's like you are trying to use it as sort of like an authentic individual and not purposefully trying to be an influencer or just use it as a lead gen tool.
I'm being who I am, and who I am genuinely is committed to my community. I do care about the schools. I do care if they're thinking about opening a section of a new park. I'm going to post that stuff. I'm going to inform my neighbors. I'm going to let them know where the polling locations are. I'm going to do that anyway. Strategically, I may not just post it on my personal page. I may also post it in my neighborhood page. Like, here's some good information that I think you would like.
So you start with like maybe things that you're interested in and authentically things that you're doing. And then from there you think about, well, where should I syndicate this out to? Yeah.
That's probably where the strategy is. It's things I believe in and what I would do and advocate for anyway.
Right. Right. I like that. So, I think the follow-on question is like, okay, well, how would you advise someone getting started in this? And I think that maybe one of the catches is, we probably could say like, well, if you're just out for like pure profit here, this is probably not the right strategy for you.
It's probably going to backfire.
Yeah. You'll come off as inauthentic.
Right.
Yeah.
So where to get started, I would, again, first think, what is something you like that you could dig in a little bit more? And if you're already volunteering, excellent. Like, go with that. It doesn't have to be a neighborhood like mine.
Right.
But, I have had success with this with, I volunteer for a club. I've been on the board for 5 years, different roles. And, that club has a Facebook group and a social media presence and meets in person. We're back to in person, thank goodness. But, that's also, it's a networking opportunity in a way to show that you're trustworthy. It has nothing to do with real estate.
Right.
But I have done transactions for people in that group because they see me as trustworthy and someone who gets things done. So again, what are you going to do? I don't know what you're going to do, but how you're going to do it is committed.
Right. I'm trying to figure out the way of phrasing this, but it's sort of like you, a lot of the groups that you're involved in are just online groups because they are actually in person or like sort of real networks of people. They're not just strictly virtual.
Right. Some are, some aren't. Like the one for the neighborhood residents, well, you're not going to get all 6,000 households together ever. Right. That's more of an information, hyper-local. They want recommendations for people to do something, that is in your end of town. But yeah, other groups are in person, but they have a social aspect. Yep. So the same thing applies, though. If there's an interesting conversation in the group, don't just think your response or say it to your partner over dinner. Write it in the group because people will say, oh, gosh, she actually has an opinion. She thought that through. She said something interesting. She shared an article.
It's funny. That also kind of came up with Bob where this was like a marketing thing that I thought of a long time ago where it's like if you're asking the question or if you're typing the thing into Google, or you're trying to come up with the answer, like share it with the world because you're probably not the only one thinking it. Yeah. Or asking that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think your attitude matters. I do see, sometimes realtors or people from other professions being real negative in a group. Yeah. And even when you do have a valid axe to grind, your city council person or whatever, like kind of also think like your words are going to stay there unless you go back and remember to delete them. Like, what energy do you want people to feel when they read your name?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good point because there are some people, you read their, the things that they post elsewhere and it's like super negative. Yeah. And it's like, well, what is that person going to be like to work with? Right.
So another thing, it's a simple, here's a really easy one to get started on. A lot of communities have buy-sell groups or free cycle groups. Yeah. So start getting rid of your stuff you don't need anymore. Post it on these groups. When someone comes to pick it up from your porch, well, first they have to message you, right, to know where you live. Friend them. Okay, step one to being able to consistently communicate with them. Put your business card or some cute little thing in the bag that they're going to pick up and then send them a message. So now you've got Facebook, you've got them on Messenger, and they came to you in person. And ideally, try to be home when they come. Now, my instinct is to never be home when they come because I don't want to see them. But it works a lot better
I will
can make
present
contact.
A counterpoint to that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a weird life hack, but I actually enjoy meeting people. I don't do it at home. I like go somewhere like a Costco parking lot, that kind of thing. But typically, if I'm selling, something on Facebook, it's something that I bought at one point and enjoyed, and the person I'm selling it to shares the same interests. And I have many times had extended conversations that was supposed to be a 30-second transaction, but turned out the person was just cool.
And because in mine it's neighborhood based, so I do like them to kind of know where I live and see, so so that's an easy way to have interactions. You may actually make a little money just getting rid of some stuff too. Also, you can skim those groups to see who's getting rid of a lot of stuff all at once because they're getting ready to move. That takes me down a rabbit trail of how you can bring gift bags to people giving garage sales that are like they have garage sales.
Okay, tell me about this.
Well, it's not really social media, but
but no, this is good. So, social media is how you found out about
it. In a neighborhood, like I wouldn't do this all across Austin, but like in my neighborhood when I started, I had no database and no budget, so I had brown paper bags from the dollar store with my sticker on them and stuff from the dollar store in them, like a little bottle of water, a granola bar, like a pack of gum. Like, no, the one with 5 sticks. I was on a budget, okay? A business card, like, and I called it a garage sale survival kit. And so I'd go up to I have a big purse, so I'd have one in there. So if it didn't seem like a moving garage sale, I didn't have to give it to them because I was on a budget. Did I mention?
Right.
So
you're trying to do some discovery.
So I'd like kind of sidle around the garage sale. If they're just getting rid of baby clothes because baby's 5, like not my people. But if I could figure out they're moving, like, hey, garage sale. And then I would offer, if they had stuff at the end, I would offer to call Salvation Army for them to pick it up for them, or whatever, organization is in your town that does that. And then I'd have to get their contact info for me to check with them at the end of the garage sale to see if they needed that. Haha.
Right.
Anyway.
Oh, that's really good. How do you, you got a team that works with you.
Yeah.
How do you coach them on this stuff?
Well, it's interesting because one of them has a kindergartner, and I'm like, oh, if I would have only started this when my kids were in kindergarten. Come, let me tell you. So she is on the PTA at her son's school, and she's volunteering on the CAC. It's interesting. A lot of my team members are more reluctant to put themselves out there on social media in this way, which is, I think, unfortunate, a missed opportunity, but everybody gets to pick their own strategy. So the way I would coach them is just what I'm saying here, like, just be yourself. But, like, one of my agents has a wicked sense of humor, and his thing is that for closings, he wears a purple shirt. So he will put, purple shirt day, and like, his friends will start commenting on it and liking it and like putting balloons and celebration things, because like that's his lexicon. He's created like a thing that everybody knows.
His community
him.
knows.
Yeah. So he's got this thing that's like the how today is, and it's always like some, I don't know where he finds the pictures, but it's like a guy riding a bike with like 13 buckets on a stick across his shoulders. Like, the day is just not going well. Yeah. So he's kind of known for that too. And then you just dribble a little real estate in the middle of it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I liked your ratio. It was like 3 to 1, 4 to 1, something like that. But and talk to me about the real estate posts, because again, going back to your first point, they're not like,
it's
I'm
not
Theresa.
No, it's not
Here's
a
my
flashy,
phone number. Buy from me.
No, it's not a glamour shot.
Yep.
Well, today I have a listing that I had pictures done today, so I went to put the sign and the lockbox out. I stuck the sign in the front, and I took a picture, but not of the house. I took a picture of the bluebonnets in front of the sign. Bluebonnets are, the flower of spring in Texas, and everybody takes their families out to take pictures in the bluebonnets, like in the little field of wildflowers. So I posted the picture of my sign with the bluebonnets leading up to it, and I said, this is my favorite place to take bluebonnet pictures, hashtag Texas Realtor.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, well, I think that also plays into the authenticity, right? So like if you want to come off as authentic, you need to speak to the community that is going to understand. And so like
I could have said
bluebonnets is
it's iconic. But I could have said, this is my coming soon listing. It's priced at here. If you want a great house, I mean, the buyer for that house likely isn't just hanging out on my Facebook. Right. But people that see, oh, she's doing a little business. Oh, she's got a creative sense of humor. Also, when I post just sold, I tend not to just put a picture of the house. We do have a business page that will do that sort of thing. But like on my personal page, with the people that are in my network, I'll tell a little story about it. Yeah. Like, this was a really special one because I've helped, this woman's daughter and son do a couple purchases, and their trust in referring me to their mom made a big difference. So, I'll speak a little more from the heart on those.
So I think one of 2 questions that kind of circle around lead volume.
Sure.
Right. And like the amount of calls that you're getting. And so maybe the first one that I want to address is a lot of your strategies have centered around the community that you live in. And so it's 7,000 homes. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things I want to play out for people is at that scale, there's always someone moving.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, I am definitely not the top agent or the most volume agent in that neighborhood. There's definitely several dominant agents. There's plenty in one neighborhood.
Right. How many do you think there is?
How many realtors?
Realtors that are doing business, like kind of when you think about your competition.
I mean,
what I wanted
5.
5. Because what I want to do is address the person that's thinking right now, my community is too small.
Oh, well, you could do a zip code. You could
Yep.
do your elementary school zone.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many ways to flex it. You could do a group that is, again, associated around a cause.
Yep.
That then maybe they do live in different areas, but they all, support a political thing, and which I don't mind putting my politics out there.
Yep.
Because again, authenticity. I'm a political. I
Yep.
love public policy, and that's my jam. So,
Yep.
again, if it's not your jam, don't do it.
Yep.
But you could, maybe you're a musician and there's a singer-songwriter group. I mean,
Right.
it could be a non-geographic way to pull.
Right. So there's different aspects to look at it to make the sort of community fit the right size.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how often is your phone ringing where it's someone that's like, hey, I saw you on the blank community page?
Well, a lot of times it isn't going to be a phone that rings
Right.
because it's a Facebook message
It's a
or
DM,
something,
right?
to be honest. And you
Yep.
can't forget to check those.
Right.
Because they hide. But I had a woman reach out to me today.
Yep.
We had talked about, before the holidays, so about 3 months ago. I'm another niche of my business is I work with family lawyers on real estate matters related to divorce situations and estates. So I do advertise in the same magazine that services my neighborhood.
Yep.
And my specific niche that I advertise for in that is the divorce and estate angle.
Yep.
And so she had seen that ad and actually talked to me before the holidays, unsure if they were going to divorce, not sure if they were going to sell or keep the house or exactly
Right.
what was going to happen. So today she messaged me and said they are going to sell the house. They want me to come over and, interview for that opportunity to list it. So I wouldn't say it's, an everyday volume,
Right.
but it's consistent. And the awesome thing is sometimes I'm not even really, I don't know the person.
Yeah.
But because I've earned my I've established my position as a person that delivers value to this neighborhood. I have raving fans that will make their neighbors call me.
Yeah.
So those are the best. I don't really know the homeowner that well, but I know their across the street neighbor very well. And they basically strong arm their neighbor into interviewing me. And then I get to know the homeowner and, make another raving fan.
Definitely. Yeah. I think on our block, the same realtor has sold the majority of the homes kind of for that reason.
Who is it? Which block?
We'll talk after. Okay. So follow-up question. So you get a DM and it's, a situation like that.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, I, know you through PTA
Yeah.
or whatever. This is different from an internet lead where you need to nurture until they die.
Right.
And I know that you're a Real Geeks and Follow Up Boss
Yes,
user.
yes.
So what's the mechanics look like behind the scenes?
So of this type of lead versus the Real Geeks,
Yep.
So you have to be a lot more human.
Yep.
And you have to show up. So go, and the mistake, you can get lured into believing that. I could be lured into believing that because this woman already talked to me and now she says, come over, I've got that listing.
Right.
Absolutely never assume that. Even though it's someone from your neighborhood, your political group, whatever the organization is that you are providing value to, you still have to show up for that appointment.
Right.
Like you are competing against,
Yeah.
all the Mike Ferry agents in town.
Right.
So don't assume you have the business or cut corners on your presentation because you have a relationship. And sometimes you even need to say that because we have a relationship, or I don't want you to feel that because, Jessica introduced us, that Jessica is going to be knowing everything that goes on with our transaction. She is a great and loyal friend, but business is separate. And if you choose to communicate with Jessica about that will be your decision. I will not share the details of your transaction with anyone.
That's like calling out the objection that's unspoken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just get it out there.
Yep.
So
I like that. Okay. So, but back to the kind of the CRMs and the technologies and stuff like that. I would imagine that you're not throwing them on a nurture and,
No. I do, our brokerage does a monthly newsletter.
Yep.
So if I have their email address and a lot of people from the club I am in, I do, but from just knowing from Facebook, you don't have there are companies you can pay to go glean the email addresses from your Facebook friends,
Right.
but most of those I have found are the email addresses they use to sign up for Facebook, which if you're
May
my
not
age
be
is
the ones they
12
use.
years ago or more. So
Yep.
they're a lot of AOLs
Yep.
and some Junos that are no longer active. So I don't recommend you pay for that. But you can You can retarget your
Yep.
Facebook friends. So if you're, let's say, so one thing we did this year, we just finished a series of 3 seminars in the neighborhood community center, marketed and shared with the community. They were on different ways to increase your home's value. One was outdoor spaces, one was like interior design,
Yep.
one was like the mechanics of your home, right? So again, layering in value. They are free, but to register, I had to have their information to
Right.
remind them about it. So it's a way to add people to that database, and they will all get my newsletter.
Yep.
So once a month, they'll get
Are
something
you using
from
Facebook
me.
groups to run those events or Facebook events? Sorry.
No, we didn't
Yep.
use Facebook events. We weren't quite. The second time we do it around, we're going to do some things a little bit differently. But we did Eventbrite for signups.
Okay. Yep.
I
And then promoted through social media.
promoted through social media, direct, texted,
Yep.
people, and then layered it in all those groups,
Yeah.
even like local moms groups, things that weren't specific to that neighborhood or to
Yep.
real estate even, but just like, hey, there's a free thing. We want to invite you.
Yep.
Which again, even if they don't all go, they're like, well, that real estate company really did something cool. I didn't
Yep.
see the other, 13 realtors doing that. So it has, there's different ways to win at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So mechanics, if they're just on Facebook.
I was going to come back.
Okay, yeah, I got you. If they're just on Facebook, really what I do is retarget, and if I can see something that they would value,
Yeah.
like I know this person from the high school PTA or
Right.
whatever, I might send an article to them
Yep.
or something, but in practice they're not really marketed to
Right.
unless I have their email address. Then they're in a monthly newsletter, which some unsubscribe, most don't because it's cute and it's specific to the
Right.
neighborhood or the area. But that's really how we keep in touch.
So what about like managing pipeline and stuff like that? So are you using the CRM to be like, okay, this person was at this stage of the thing and you're kind of keeping track of them that way? Or is it like,
So like, for example, everyone that attended the seminar gets a tag based on the, with seminar for all of them and then which
Yep.
date they attended, just in case I want to break it down.
Right.
But the seminar guests are all going to get, the last one was the 28th. So this week they're all going to get a email asking them to give us feedback on the seminar series. So again, another way for me to be in their inbox, me to be providing value, asking for help, asking their opinion. We value your opinion. So it's less of an automatic nurture than
More of a
than a home
manual.
search lead would be.
Yep.
Because you already have a relationship with these people.
Right.
So it would be weird to put them on a do you want to sell your home tomorrow
Right.
trip.
And this is the point I think I was trying to get to, where it's like it's not the same vibe as like,
No.
hey, I need to constantly be reminding you that you filled out this form once online.
No, you need to be constantly reminding them that you are an active and caring and committed member of this neighborhood.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, you do a fair amount of business and people trust you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a more nuanced message,
Yep.
but it works.
Are you doing all of this yourself? So you don't have like VAs or anyone else in your
Not for this.
Yeah.
For this, I mean, I understand the VA
Yeah.
thing, and I do have. We have an amazing operations manager, Valerie,
Yeah.
and she will do some posting.
Right.
But that's more on the brokerage side. We're a real company. We do real things, like the things people expect to see
Right.
from a real estate company. But on my personal social media, I could never have someone else do it. It's my voice
Right.
is the one that matters. It's me posting that ridiculous scrambled egg mess that I made. You can't outsource that and have the authenticity in the results. That's
Okay.
not for this.
Okay, so similar one, and I think
Okay.
we might get some good gossip out of this. Now, you're running school groups, you're running these community groups. You said you started some of these groups,
Yeah.
right? And then you invite in the right moderators. Like, give people your tips for dealing with the natural drama
Yeah, there
that
definitely
builds
is.
in these groups.
There definitely is drama, and some of that is if you're starting from something from scratch, there's bound to be growing pains.
You can hit us with an example.
Well, so there was in the high school like parent page, there was a group of parents of incoming freshmen that were really up in arms about one of the optional books, not a required book, but it was a summer reading for incoming ninth graders. They could choose from, I think, a dozen books. One of them had some racy content, and it really upset a group of parents that were very insistent that that was going to be talked about on this parent page a lot. And multiple voices, like printing that they, and it was like, we'd been in existence for a couple years by then.
Right.
The moderators and I had a pretty good rhythm. And like, if we're all bothered by something, like some of those moderators I have not yet met in person. We've kept it that way kind of intentionally. So it's not like, oh, me and my buddies all think the same way in the echo chamber. So anyway, if we're
That's
all...
That's a good tip right there.
Okay, yeah. So you should have moderators that aren't your friends. But yeah, like for a high school, I think we can all reference that. It's kind of like, think of the Breakfast Club, right? You know, you've got, like, my kid was in ROTC. I intentionally got a parent whose kid was really into the sports side of things. Right. And we intentionally got one from each of the middle schools that feeds in, because you're naturally going to know different people.
So no one could ever look at the mods and be like, oh, that's a click.
Right, right. And, well, they can't look at it, and ideally you don't want that. You don't want to run a group that's, you know, really just furthering one agenda.
Right.
So this was the level of intensity around this. All of us were like, wait, what is happening? And so we just said, you know, comments closed, that issue's, you know,
off limits.
It's been shared. Ask and answer. We're not going to solve it here. And multiple people had posted, you know, where in the district you would go to complain about curriculum. Guess what? Not a parent page. Can't do anything about it here. So we just closed the comments, but that actually caused one of those parents to form a spin-off uncensored parent page. So they're not just for neighborhoods. But we had a commitment that this was a page that, you know, was information-based and positive about the school. Like there's all kinds of reasons to rant about a high school.
Right.
And if you've got a high schooler, your own kid, most likely, is one of them. So we had just said, this is a place where people can log on, find out what's going on, ask a question without intimidation and all the drama that comes with some groups. That was our goal. And we just drew a line in the sand. And so I think the other group's still running, and people can, you know, complain on there all they want. I don't want to run something that's not negative. I just don't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good tip. I like the main takeaway of like having a bunch of a diverse set of moderators that are not necessarily all your friends. So you get like a good.
If we spot check each other, like, did you see this post? Did that raise a red flag for you? And if we're all like, oh, I don't know what, but something didn't sound right. It's like, okay.
How some of the Facebook groups that we're involved in, I almost call it like battle testing your rules. You know, like how was this the biggest blow up you dealt with, and like how tested were the rules at that point so that when this happened you're like, okay, this is like that other time, or was this like, okay, we gotta like invent a new solution here?
No, it definitely fell under one of the rules. The level of heat it had and the repeated comments, the repeated number of people, and they were all kind of new to the group. That was when we had hoped we could, you know, turn it around gently without having to like stop comments and leave, you know, remove people from the group. So generally we try to keep a softer hand with it.
Right.
And generally adults are a little more like, oh, right, okay.
Right.
You know, like we don't post pictures of kids' driver's licenses, no matter how bad a driver they are. Right. That's one. We don't talk about one particular teacher, no matter how bad they wronged your child. They're just things that we don't do.
Yes.
So usually it's more like, we don't do that, so delete that post and let the person know, warning, remove.
When you delete a post, do you usually comment back to the person like, hey, this is what, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't just
it's kind of like a warning.
Right, exactly.
Otherwise, they might not know that it got deleted.
True, because I think on Facebook in particular, they kind of do that as like as a safety rail for people to not just like keep like creating the posts. But okay, interesting. So you reply back to them and be like, hey, we have this rule. And
right. Another group I'm in is politically based. And we've had, you know, obviously over the last 5 years, lots of controversial topics in that. And even within the group, there are people like a mayoral candidate.
Right.
Like they're, you know, candidates in the primary from the same party. So you'd think we would be somewhat.
Oh, no, that's the most vicious.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, you can have to be diplomatic. But again, it's like, no, we've committed that we don't call names or, you know, whatever your rules are, and just sticking to them.
Right. How Are those conversations, like when you back someone down, like do you think the person's just like usually emotional, and then when you're talking to them as a moderator, like, hey, this is not what we want in the group? Do they chill out?
I think sometimes people should probably not be typing on their Facebook after a certain hour of the day, night, or a number of beers. I'm just going to say, I think that would solve a lot of the keyboard warrior things.
Right, exactly. Okay, we put you on timeout. You come back tomorrow.
Generally, generally, you can mute someone to just take a pause. And because if something's blowing up in the evening, I'm not going to end my day dealing with that. But I might just mute the whole thing and then deal with it in the morning.
Right. Are your moderators pretty on it, when things come in, or is it sort of and also do you have a side chat where you're kind of...
Sometimes we do have a side chat. It's really not that much work at this point. And I don't have a kid at the school anymore. So I own the group, but I don't. So I'm much less involved in the moderation of that group. And we've kind of have a succession plan for moderators because for something school-based, right? Well, if y'all have kids that graduate, then what? So we bring a new moderator in every now and then.
You've thought about this group thing at a very high level, and I'm starting to ask questions because I'm actually, this
What's
is information that I would like to know. Yeah.
Well, I think when it's a very large group or it's something that people are as passionate about as their kids getting into college, perhaps, and their mental health, or safety at school. There are legitimate reasons for people to be, very engaged, and it can be a fine line to say, well, this newspaper article about something that happened across the country, does it need to be in this group? We all know there's terrible things that happen everywhere. Does this article inform something in our part of, Austin, our specific children? Because we didn't say we were a mental health group for the whole teenage life. We're this high school parent group. So that also, knowing what's in your lane topic-wise can help.
Yeah. I like how we've started out this conversation talking about the energy that you want to put out into the social media universe as an individual. And then we followed this rabbit hole all the way down to find out that you're moderating groups and have the same core principle. Yeah. But for managing these groups that have grown substantially.
I guess there is a symmetry there that I hadn't realized until we talked about it.
That's the cool thing about doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about the way that you let people in, and do you have questions that they have to fill out? How do you figure out who's welcome into the group and who's not? And then do you kick people out if they don't meet the criteria? How's that work?
It's honestly, we do have some questions. I'm thinking I started one group and I manage and I'm an admin on a couple others. So yes, all the groups I'm a part of do have some kind of answer some questions. Yep. We don't necessarily research the answers to those questions super thoroughly, but if someone took the time to answer them, we're, pretty sure. Yep. Usually you can see, for especially a school-based page, if someone's joining, they likely are friends with other people that know other people, so you can kind of see some patterns there. But, if someone sneaks in, it's not going to be the end of the world. Right. Generally, you find out pretty quickly because they post something about they are offering, tutoring services or SAT prep, and you're like, oh, you're just here to advertise. Bye. Yep. It's just not that time consuming. Yep. So we do ask questions. We don't spend a lot of time vetting the answers, but we do. It's kind of just almost a formality.
It's kind of like a CAPTCHA. It's prove your humanity.
Yeah. It's prove you're not just clicking on every group you saw 1 hour that you were bored.
Right, exactly. Okay, how about removing people? So you manage a couple of school groups. You say even yourself, your kid doesn't go to the school anymore. When do people exit out of the group? We
do invite every spring and summer and fall. We'll do a post inviting people to tell us where their kid is going after high school, and then that helps know who's had a graduate. But we remind them that it's time to, you can fly the nest too. Yep. So we're not super harsh about making people leave, but it is designed to be for current parents. I don't know why you'd hang on, unless you're just not using Facebook anymore that much.
Maybe you should create an alumni group.
Yeah.
A parent alumni group.
Someone else can do that.
Yeah.
But we've had to ask some people to leave just for content or for violating the rules by promoting things. But generally, it's been not a huge concern.
All right, so if you enjoyed that first conversation with Theresa about social media, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. There'll be lots of information in the description below to help you find additional stuff. Also, Theresa, before we fade out here, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Oh, well, you can find me at Theresa at letsmoveaustin.com. My cell number is 512-297-3442. I'll handle all your referrals for people moving to Austin. And my website is letsmoveaustin.com. Ideally, you'll friend me on social media, and you'll be able to see my cooking escapades.
Excellent. Okay, and we are about to have another conversation. This is actually a 2-for recording session. So hit that subscribe button and the bell, right? And get notified when the next one pops